It's not always pretty, it's not always about the house itself, sometimes it's really about that person and their situation. The brokers who are making it are, in the mentality that there's always a need for them, that they're providing a service that is for people. And they're out there, they're meeting people, they have a database, they're making contact with people on a regular basis that are in their lives, and giving back and acting as, the trusted resource for their friends, family, clients, former clients. The ones that are out there are the ones that I see that are having success. Mindset is it's gonna take a little work. We're talking a lot about the term grit as well in our company, and it's also going to take the positive mindset. That is that there is always a market. There's always a need. That you're a value to your people and helping them get done what they want to do. It's not always pretty. It's not always about the house itself. Sometimes it's really about that person and their situation. We like to help our brokers, kind of get to that point where, they're in relationship and they're, providing that value. I'm seeing a big return to brokers wanting to be in person and learning in person. We've really mastered the hybrid, we've mastered the virtual. That does work for a lot of circumstances, but I think brokers are coming back to the point where they want to come in the office, they want to see people, kind of reconnect. At our office, we give personalized support. The great thing about this business is people come from all kinds of backgrounds, ways they like to do business, and we try to tie into, their personality. While they're in relationship with their clients, we are in relationship with our brokers, really trying to understand what their needs are. Every broker is going to have a little bit of a different learning style and coming from a different place as far as what part of their career. I coach brokers that are brand new and also, that are top producers. As well as ones that are maybe coming back into the business, after a while. Sometimes it's one-on-one, sometimes it's going to be in a group. It's really just going to depend on the interests, the common needs of those brokers. I like to read the room, and I like to take input. As a managing broker, we act a lot as a guide. If somebody calls with a real estate issue, a problem with a transaction, we like to fix that as quickly as possible and get them back on the road and into their transaction so that they're not bogged down. If I remember all the way back to the mid-2000s, when I was just starting, we would walk around the office and ask the other brokers their opinions, and sometimes it's just that, they just need somebody to bounce their ideas off of. So a lot of it is availability. We really try to always have somebody that the agents can call and lean on for advice, support of any, of what they need. I think culture in an office, it is something you let happen. You guide, you hear, the staff and we will take cues as far as kind of what direction, people want to do. If they want to have a golf event, we'll get that going and get the golf event planned for them. I try to promote, a positive environment for all of the brokers, inclusive, positive and professional. That's kind of the way I would look at it. And yes, we like to have fun and we like to support each other and we support our clients. If you come into one of our offices as a broker, what you're going to find is, everybody's pulling for each other. And it's pretty amazing. Yeah, I came walking into, my office of 20 years in Southeast Portland, and I kind of didn't know what to expect. When you take the real estate exam, you learn a lot of things, and you kind of don't really know how to apply them yet. At that time, there was a great training program that fit into my schedule, and so I jumped in, and I worked very hard. I was in the morning and out later in the evening, and I gave it my all, and then the company gave back. So every time I put something in, I felt like that support was there. It seemed like the company cared about its culture, it cared about its agents, has a positive attitude about, where it was going and who we were. So, and that kept me in it. And I was in the company during some pretty tough times. And I remember, very vividly, when the market wasn't doing very well in 2008, 9, 10, 11, the company kind of coming to us with all kinds of support, and we made it through. So, and that stuck with me for sure.